Purple Daily is daily Vikings entertainment. We just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die.
I will ride with this group.
Seriously, man. Please.
And away we go.
Welcome in, Purple Daily, daily Vikings entertainment. We just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl, as Judd's hooded sweatshirt says, before I die.
Pop that baby right there.
You can find that official Purple Daily hoodie over at scorenorth.com/shop. That's scorenorth.com/shop if you want to be like the sports dad and support. So today there's a bunch of little news nuggets sort of floating around over the last 3, 4, 5 days, and we're going to collect them and put them into a hard count edition of Purple Daily, where we go around the NFL and football world, sometimes Vikings related, sometimes outside of the Viking scope. But there's a really interesting look ahead to 2025 free agency that we're going to start with after we shout out Nicolay Law. Nicolay Law is the exclusive personal injury law firm of Purple Daily. Just a bunch of normal, everyday folks who live and serve the Twin Cities communities that they live in. But then when it's time, they bust out those law degrees, maybe even put on a power suit, power tie if needed, to make sure you get the compensation you deserve after an accident. So if you've been injured, get Minnesota's local award-winning injury lawyers. Get Nicolay. Start your path to winning at nicolaylaw.com or give them a call at 1-855-NICOLAY.
Everybody hold your water.
So let's start with this one here, boys. How good would the Vikings be? Let's just skip ahead to the 2025 offseason here. We're just going to pretend like, I don't know, the Vikings had a competitive season, they're going in the right direction, and now it's time to take the next leap in 2025.
I love this.
How good will the Vikings be if they land one of these dudes in free agency? This is from our guy Alec Lewis at The Athletic, as aggregated by the Purple Persuasion on Twitter.
Which does a really good job
Yeah.
of aggregating things. They are really on top of things. Nice work.
Yes. Nice work. TPP Skol if you want to follow them on X or Twitter. The Vikings could target Packers defensive tackle Kenny Clark and Jets cornerback DJ Reed in free agency next year. By the way, that's an and, not an or.
Yeah.
Two names, Kenny Clark and DJ Reed. The Vikings will likely peruse the market for defensive tackles and cornerbacks next year, and these two might be the best available at their positions. But there are other possibilities too, like 49ers cornerback Charvarius Ward, and he lists a few other guys. But specifically, Kenny Clark and DJ Reed as names to keep an eye on here. Now, in 2025, the Vikings are expected to have top 8 cap space, even after the Jefferson contract. So that's been factored into this whole equation.
Yep.
Patriots, Cardinals, Commanders, top 3 in cap space. Steelers 4, Cowboys 5, Bears, Jets 6, 7, Vikings with the 8th most cap space. Kenny Clark, by the way, among all defensive tackles in the NFL last year, I believe he's 27, 28. What's Kenny Clark now? 28. So he'd be 29 years old during the free agency cycle. He was 6th among all interior defensive linemen in total pressures last year. And DJ Reed was the 17th ranked cornerback, according to PFF, among the 150 or so that qualified. So what do you think? How good would they be if they made an aggressive move for one or both of those guys?
Well, to go back to March, we know for a fact that they targeted Christian Wilkins, who was a free agent interior defensive stud from the Dolphins who went to Las Vegas. So, I think Kenny Clark, or a player of that ilk, being on the radar is almost a certainty. I think the cornerback thing is going to depend a little bit. Now, first of all, I am advocating if you can go out and get a top level cornerback and you are at a point where the window has opened wide, which is what I expect for the 25 Vikings, then you should definitely pursue it. But, there's a lot to be seen here, I think. The cornerback thing to me is intriguing because we've got some pieces to the puzzle here. Mekhi Blackman comes to mind immediately that we don't know about yet, a ton about, but definitely could develop into a very functional, good player with playing time. So I think the fact that they're going to be top 10 cap, though, and the fact that they can go out and get guys. And let me throw in another, not free agent acquisition, but perhaps an acquisition that you retain at a high salary.
Reckless speculation.
That's not subject to the cap. This is the one way you game the system. And that is keeping Brian Flores for a third year. Because I'm going to harp on this. Because too often we say, well, Flores, an assistant coach, the secondary coach can take over. He knows Flores' system, right? But Brian Flores has proven he's really damn good at what he does.
Yeah.
And if I'm a free agent and I am examining teams, their abilities to win, facilities, which the Vikings have top notch. But then I also see Brian Flores is going into his third year as the defensive coordinator of that team. I think it becomes all the more intriguing. So I love this. I do think the Vikings are going to definitely go big game hunting in March of 25. But I also think it's a very interesting discussion of if you have Brian Flores going into his third year here and he's still here, I think that is a real enhancing enticement for a player to look even closer at you. And, let's say a guy like Kenny Clark has 3 really competitive offers, right? From 3 good teams. Well, if one of those has Brian Flores coordinating my defense, I think it becomes very intriguing for you.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's impossible. It's so rare to have the same defensive coordinator also performing at like an elite level at that same position, and especially like Brian Flores for a third consecutive year. Like eventually another team's going to come calling. He might want his own team to coach. I would love Brian Flores to still be here beyond 2024, but I do think the likelihood of that happening, especially if the defense lives up to what it's supposed to be in 2024, are pretty slim.
So you think it's likely he gets a head coaching job?
Yeah, I think it is.
I think it depends on one thing, where the lawsuit is and what his reputation, fair or not. So it's not his fault. But I mean, this league there's been some things done that are very hanky. So I'm just saying, if you have an opening where you don't think he's going to get a job, I would not hesitate to give him a bump in salary to keep him as happy as possible. I do find it very odd to, I guess, strengthen Declan's point that this guy took a defense that was horse bleep. Basically, it was the same cast of characters.
Yeah.
And, it wasn't elite, but it was damn good for a prolonged period of time in 23 and didn't get an interview.
I want you to think about, and the Kenny Clark thing is the most intriguing because if you all of a sudden have Kenny Clark, and that would cost you a ton of money, $25 million a year, maybe close to $30 million a year.
Right.
Kenny Clark, Harrison Phillips comes back, let's say, and he can kind of play off Kenny Clark. Yeah. And then you've got Jonathan Grenard still in his prime. You've got Dallas Turner emerging, going into his second year. Andrew Van Ginkel provided health. So you would, with those 5 guys alone, there'd be so many possibilities for moving the chess pieces around. And then Ivan Pace Jr. looks like he's going to be a multi-year starter, as an inside linebacker. Just the personnel and the chess pieces that Brian Flores or whoever the defensive coordinator could move around. And then DJ Reed, if they were to wind up with a top interior defensive lineman, and then DJ Reed, he would be turning 28 years old. So he doesn't turn 28 until like the end of the season. So, they still have maybe a couple years left of prime there. I don't know. The way they've set themselves up with cap space for next spring is really, really fascinating. And I think Kenny Clark would be the top priority for me, and then we'll see how the cornerback room plays out this year.
And if I'm correct about this, they are going into 2024 with the most dead cap, correct? Or dead money on their cap.
For this year, you're saying?
For this year, yes. I believe they were number 1.
They have right now they have the third most.
Okay.
The Bills with the Stephon Diggs trade.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that was after.
And then the Broncos with the Russell Wilson trade.
Right. But I love the philosophy now of clearing that up to free up space. The other interesting thing I think to ask yourself, because I do think defensively that you're right. If it's not Clark, I think defensive tackle is where you're going to go out and try and find a, star, a big time acquisition. Other than that, corner definitely comes to mind. Harrison Smith is probably gone, but you're pretty deep at safety. I don't know that you would have to pursue a safety. My question is KOC side of the football. Like, what would you go out, like, pie in the sky, Phil, but would they finally go out and address the Mackey plan? Is March of 25 when you go out and get that big time guard? Because you're good at left tackle, right tackle, you're pretty solid.
Listen, the Mackey plan is a break glass in case of emergency. Ideally, you would find a guard in the 5th round or the 6th round. Ideally, Ed Ingram and Blake Brandel would be your guards, and you don't have to, because if I can get Kenny Clark or I can get a guard and it's $20 to $30 million,
I'm sorry.
I want Kenny Clark.
I'm sorry. I was saying Kenny Clark and the guards. So instead of like Clark
you want
and
it
a
all.
cornerback.
Okay.
Well, no, he is saying that it was DJ Reed and Clark, right? So I'm saying, what if it's not DJ Reed? What if it's Kenny Clark and Pro Bowl guard?
Yeah, I mean,
you can get two.
To your point, you definitely have room for multiple high-end free agents next year. That's the way that you've set yourself up, and you have a first-round draft pick. So nice job on the books, eating that dead money and clearing out some of these old cobwebby contracts. Okay, next topic here. It's an update on the Vikings quarterback situation from two different sources. ESPN's Dan Graziano reported on, I believe it was SportsCenter or maybe it was Get Up yesterday. If McCarthy hits certain benchmarks by certain dates, he could still be the week 1 starter for the Vikings, is what he is hearing. He also, this is something that I don't think I've seen reported yet. If it has been, I apologize to the local beat writers, but
sure.
He said the Vikings actually had benchmark step-by-step plans mapped out for several different quarterbacks in the draft. So it wasn't like they drafted someone and then they came up with the plan. It was,
right.
Here would be our plan for Drake May. Here would be our plan for Michael Penix, Jaden Daniels, etc. And then they drafted McCarthy. They already had the plan from day one.
So the McCarthy plan was in the drawer.
It was in, yes.
They pulled out the notepad and they said, here's the McCarthy plan. Okay.
It was all set up. So they're saying that, okay, McCarthy was the draft pick, and if there's still a chance he could be the week 1 starter. Now, Alec Lewis from The Athletic says the Vikings, this is sort of a different area of the quarterback situation, but that they're likely to keep Nick Mullins as the 3rd quarterback while trying to sneak Jaron Hall onto the practice squad. Quote from the article, Sam Darnold and J.J. McCarthy are obvious members of the roster. So the number the number starts at 2 quarterbacks on the roster. Nick Mullins and Jaron Hall's circumstances are less certain. If the Vikings want an experienced veteran who could shield McCarthy in the event Darnold is injured, Mullins feels necessary. But Jaron Hall has been looking pretty good, according to people who are at practice on a regular basis.
Yep.
But I think that makes sense. If you keep Jaron Hall, you're kind of just like, unless he's ready to play in a way that he wasn't last year, you're not really putting a guy out there that can run the offense. Now, you might say, not like Nick Mullins is Tom Brady out there, but he could throw for 400 yards in the offense. So you could throw him out there as another shield in front of J.J. McCarthy if needed.
Yeah, and I think Alex reporting also comes from the eye test of what we talked about during the award-winning, fantastic Judd's camp notes. Because Mullins was with Darnold as the 2, and Jaron Hall and McCarthy worked as a tandem with all of the backups. So I think what we're seeing here is exactly that. It's very clear the McCarthy plan is a pretty intricate plan and doesn't have oh my God, guys got hurt, JJ McCarthy has to play. So I think that if you combine Alec and Graziano's reporting, what you have is the truth. if I was to look on Kevin O'Connell's notepad and see his plan for McCarthy, I think part of it is they're going to go into training camp with an eye on keeping Mullins as the backup, as the primary backup. And if something happens to Darnold, Nick can play. They would love to get Hall through to the practice squad. Now, that remains to be seen. As we know, going back to when Brad Childress blew a gasket because the Kansas City Chiefs claimed Tyler Thigpen, and Childress had no interest in losing Tyler. There does have to be a bit of trepidation if you indeed really want to keep Hall. Now, that's up for debate as well. But to go back to what Graziano said, which is pretty important, if there is a, hey, best case plan, JJ McCarthy looks like he could start week 1. Like, he might not, but he looks like he can start, and I don't think that he will. But if that looks to be the case, then I think what we've discussed before comes into view, which is I don't think Mullins would be cut. I think he would be traded for a late round draft pick, much like the Vikings did with the Raiders back when they were trying to find a quarterback because their backup stunk in training camp.
Yeah. That makes some sense. I mean, what could you get for Nick Mullins? You do need to recoup some draft capital because you've given away, not that, listen, if you found Dallas Turner and JJ McCarthy and those guys are going to be studs on both sides of the ball, I don't care about the 4th round picks you gave up, but it'd be nice to get some capital back next year.
I would say it'd be a conditional 6th based on playing time, but probably a 7th. Yeah. So it would be a 7th that could conditionally bump up to a 6th. I think that would be your best bet. But, this is all going to go to how does McCarthy look? Because the one thing they're not going to do is make any rash decisions and rush him. So, like, if he looks okay but not great, and it's weird because I think we're going to go to training camp practices and watch him and say, hey, look at the arm. That looks fantastic. They're going to be trying to break down things like his mechanical form, right? His throwing form. Like, there's going to be, I don't know that what Kevin O'Connell sees and what we see are going to be interpreted even close to the same.
My guy Miles on Purple Daily on Draft, I didn't realize it. I think it was right down the road from me when he was catching passes, him and Thelen. I think that was happening at Woodbury High School, just down the street from me. So I should probably just park myself at Woodbury the next time so I can watch that JJ McCarthy throwing motion with Adam Thielen or whoever now he gets to throw to in the offseason workouts before training camp starts.
Yeah, I think last year when Dukes told us about Thelen catching passes or something like that, I think they were at Eastview.
Yeah, and then one of his ETS trainings, one of the training things he has, that's in Lake Elmo, which is also pretty close to me. So I'll just start stalking Adam Thielen off-season workouts and seeing if I can see JJ McCarthy around.
So you could get intelligence from close to you, McCarthy workouts. You know what I think? Push the wedding back to next year, and let's get on this right now. We're never going to get this chance again with JJ.
I mean, it can't be that private, right? It's not. It's not.
I don't think
it's
is
a
private.
high school.
Yeah, I think they just go out there and throw in theirs.
No, they're not like announcing what time. Right. Hey, everyone, we're going to be over there
That's
on Tuesday at 1 o'clock.
Step up the game, baby.
I wonder, like, what if you're just like an actual name? I mean, it's 5-10 minutes from me, but like, what if your house can see that football field and you just like, you're sipping on your morning coffee and you're like, wait a minute, is that?
You see someone suffer a catastrophic injury or something.
You go to the window and you go like this.
Yeah, it's a
normal thing to do.
Yeah, you can go. It's probably a chain link fence. Just walk over there and scope these guys out. It is kind of weird though that he's throwing to Adam Thielen of all players, right? Like,
seeds, man.
I need some Justin Jefferson chemistry. I need some Jordan Addison chemistry.
I think Declan's right. I think there's seeds being planted here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Thielen was quoted as saying that last year was like the most he had to grow as a person being in Carolina. I mean, he was literally, before the season, he was talking about being Super Bowl contenders, that Andy Dalton coming in helps us like fortify our Super Bowl culture or whatever he said. And by the end of the year, it's like, yeah, this is clearly the most disastrous franchise in the league. If you gave him a chance to come back to Minnesota, I think they would take it in a heartbeat. Don't you?
I wonder what
the contract's already done and signed.
And he'd be the third guy. And as long as and I think that at this point in his career and life, he would, as long as he got that part, as long as I wonder what behind the scenes the relationship with him and Kevin O'Connell is like now. Because, I mean, as we discussed publicly, he did not rip them ever. He did not say a thing. His wife did. He did not.
I would say this to Adam. If that relationship is contentious, the truth cannot be controversial, is what smarter people than me have said. The truth is you are not a number one wide receiver anymore unless you play for the Carolina Panthers. And you are not a number two wide receiver on this team.
Correct.
So if like you're offended by that in some way, I'm sorry, but you're not dealing in truth and reality. If he, to your point, were to accept, this is where I'm at in my career, and I can be damn good at being this guy right now. I can be a possession, number three, a red zone, a sneaky red zone target. I'm going to catch, not 100 passes on a good team like he did in Carolina on a bad team last year, but I'm going to catch 50 or 60 passes, and they're going to be high leverage third down and sevens. And I'm going to be able to help offer some knowledge to a young quarterback in J.J. McCarthy. Like, I would love to have Thielen back on this team for all those reasons. But he has to know his place in the current NFL.
Right. Yes.
Does he know does his ego get in the way of, do you want to be a guy that catches 90 passes for one of the worst teams in the league?
Right.
Or do you want to come here and finish out the last couple of years of your career building towards something as a number three wide receiver? That would be my question.
I wonder if
are the Vikings even interested in making a trade?
Well,
I don't.
And that's what I'm saying. Does O'Connell want him back? Did they have behind the scenes disagreements about things? I will say this: being in Carolina for a year probably has changed his views. Like, you go to Carolina, they're a complete dumpster fire.
Yeah.
The facilities, I guess, according to him, are terrible. So, like, you spend a year there, I think you might be like, yeah, I had it pretty good. As a three,
listen,
it's pretty
you could
good.
come back here. You could. He's a big golfer. You could golf at the Meadows at Mystic too. Be a great situation for Adam. Yeah, with Dex.
Yeah, I think he would probably enjoy a round with me. Is it okay we're playing from the whites, Adam? And are you okay with the second ball in my pocket? Because that will be the case when I golf at the Meadows at Mystic Lake, or where I golf anywhere, but it's specifically at the Meadows at Mystic Lake. You can book a tee time now by going to golfthemeadows.com. Maybe you're staying in with the long holiday weekend. You're not going to the cabin, and you want to stay here in the metro. Why don't you go play a round of golf at the Meadows at Mystic Lake? Go book that tee time now by going to golfthemeadows.com.
Our friends at Federated Mutual Insurance Company are very helpful around here as well. They've been helping us as we've grown our business the last handful of years, and they've been helping a lot of business owners in and around the Twin Cities area and beyond, outside the state of Minnesota. Federated, based in Owatonna, Minnesota since 1904, but a presence in basically every state in America. And if you're a business owner, you want to make sure you have a game plan in place to stay focused on safety and preventing claims. Let the team at Federated help your business do just that by creating a customizable lineup of industry-specific coverages and risk management services to help you continue your winning streak as a business owner. At Federated Mutual Insurance Company, it's our business to protect yours. Find out more at federatedinsurance.com.
Green 18! Green 18!
Okay, next topic here. This is from something Doogie floated on the Scoop session today. He said Cam Akers has been working out. He's progressing from his second torn Achilles in his young NFL career.
Yeah.
It's a former second-round pick out of Florida State. Showed a ton of promise with the Rams. Boom, torn Achilles. Miraculous comeback in just a few months. And then Vikings pick him up. Boom, again. Any interest? So he wants to come back to the Vikings.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have a bona fide third option at running back right now.
Right.
Would you dabble? He's 25 years old only. Like I said, a second-round pick a few years ago out of Florida State.
Right.
But 2 Achilles tendon tears.
I dabble. Yeah. I mean, I don't think it would hurt them to create a spot on a 90-man roster to take a look here. I like the fact that you appear to be set with your top 2 backs now, Jones, Chandler, right? But after that, what? Gaskin is still here. Ngakoue is here. And I'm curious about him because with the change in kickoff return, is he still going to be a kickoff return guy? Because if he's not, he might get cut. I'm curious on that. There's the 7th round pick from 2023, who was probably, again, a practice squad guy. So, yeah, I think you are in a very safe position to dabble because Akers would not be, it's not like he would be coming to training camp to compete for the 2. he would be among those competing for the 3. He is essentially, or he is training at the same place that, Boone runs his stuff, right across the street or down the street from TCO. Yes, why not?
Yeah.
But also, like, why? Like, you say, like, why not? But also, like, why? Is it really even necessary to bring him in if Aaron Jones is year 1, Ty Chandler's year 2, you have options behind him at 3 internally that you've already invested in? Is Cam Akers really a difference maker to be the 4th or 3rd running back on a depth chart? I'd rather look with your internal options than bring him in.
I feel like you have, though, and so I don't think, like, if you had just drafted a guy like in the 4th round, then absolutely not. I agree completely. I feel like you have nothing to lose by bringing him in. And again, it's a 90-man roster. Like, I can go cut a guy today and help you out with that one. So yeah, if you had a guy that you thought was going to be the 3, I don't know that guy exists, and I mean, I don't think that it's like Myles Gaskin is a clear-cut roster guy. So I don't have a problem with it.
I mean, I'm on Judd's side on this. I bring him in. He's a former 2nd-round pick. He was at one point, 2 years ago, 2022, with the Rams. According to Pro Football Focus, he had a higher PFF grade than Saquon Barkley, Austin Eckler, DeAndre Swift, and Kenneth Walker III, and Travis Etienne Jr. So, I don't know. I mean, Dex, you'd have to spell out which players behind Ty Chandler are like worthy of getting that spot without competing with a former 2nd-round pick before I jump on your side of the fence.
I guess with the cliff that veteran running backs hit, and with the injuries he's bogged up, like he's not going to be the player he was where he was that highly regarded PFF player. It seems very unlikely. Maybe not for certain, but it's
the crazy thing is he'd be the youngest running back on the roster besides DeWayne McBride.
DeWayne McBride's the guy I was trying to think. I can't even remember his name. I mean,
am I right? I think he's younger than Ty Chandler.
He is?
I'm going to find this real quick. Ty Chandler was, I think he was an older player coming out of college.
He's 47. He's really good for his age.
Yeah, Ty Chandler just turned 49. It's crazy.
Let me tell you something, Sonny.
So Ty Chandler is 26 years old. He just turned 26 on May 12th.
Okay, happy birthday.
And Cam Akers just turned 25 2 weeks ago.
Nice find. I did not realize that.
All right.
So I'm just here to narrative bust, okay? I'm just here to narrative bust.
Yep.
Don't come at me with your 3rd running back arguments. I'll shoot those things right down.
And
it's July.
Don't forget as well.
Definitely July.
KOC loves his former Rams, right?
Yeah.
Johnny Mutt, Brandon Powell. He loves guys that he perceives know what he wants. So
yeah. I think, like, just one more thing on this, because it is July and we're talking about the 3rd running back. There is a perception that Cam Akers is like old and because he's been around for 4 years and he's had 2 massive injuries, which the injuries are definitely a reason why you would pause.
Right.
But he was one of the youngest players drafted in 2020. I think he was maybe 20 years old when he was drafted because he turned 21 in June. So pretty sure he must have been a true freshman at Florida State, 18 years old, and then 19-20 comes out after his age 20 season. So anyways, just throw him in there into a training camp battle for the 3rd running back spot and see what happens.
Green 18! Green 18!
Okay, this next topic for you guys, it's a question. How and why is this possible? So Pick 6, this account I follow on Instagram, puts out fun graphics, football graphics. So they put this out a few weeks ago. It's a graphic with the percentage of total seasons that each team in the NFL has made the playoffs in their history. So like at the bottom, the Cardinals have only made the playoffs 12% of the years in their team history. Mm-hmm. And that's Lions at 20%, Jets 23%, which is brutal because they've been around for decades. Lions too, I guess. But then at the top, these are the teams that have made the playoffs the highest percentage of their existence. Cowboys, 55%. 5 Super Bowls, I believe. Ravens 52%.
Yeah.
Multiple Super Bowls. Vikings 48%. They've made the playoffs the third most often of any team in NFL history.
Yep.
And then it's Patriots 43%, so well above Patriots. They're 5% above Patriots. Dolphins 42%. It's been a while, but they have Super Bowls. Seahawks 41%, Chiefs 40, Colts 40, Browns 39. I guess my point is the teams in and around the Vikings. Let's see, Cowboys 5 Super Bowls, right? Ravens 2. I think it's 2 Super Bowls.
Yep.
Patriots with what? 6? 6. Dolphins have like 3. Seahawks have 1. Chiefs have a dynasty. Yep. Colts have Super Bowls. How do you make it 48% of the time? And how do the teams around you all have Super Bowls? It's a rhetorical question, but it's
right. And this would be like a whole show or like a whole day to try and break this down.
We should do like the pie chart of. It's a pie chart episode.
Well, the amazing thing about this, first of all, is there have been times where we've talked about the Vikings and they're not having won a Super Bowl. And you're like, it's like the Cubs used to be, right? Or the Red Sox, but that's not true. Like the Cubs, for instance, did not make the playoffs forever. Like they just weren't good. Yeah. The Vikings, I don't know in professional sports how many teams you could find that are as successful as the Vikings and yet don't win a championship. That's not the normal path. So
I think they are them now that the Rangers and the Astros have won championships in baseball.
The best franchise.
You could say like maybe the Utah Jazz, but they're probably the best franchise to never have won their league's championship.
But I mean, that's why it comes, in my opinion, especially in the current era of Vikings football, that's why it comes down to missed field goals being so devastating. Or Brett Favre's pass being because those were your years. I mean, I honestly think if the 2009, in retrospect now, if the 2009 Vikings make the Super Bowl, I think they probably would have won it. And you were within, how much? You were within don't put 12 men in the huddle of being in a position to kick a field goal and leave that stadium with a Super Bowl berth. So I think that's it. Now, I will say this. In the 70s, if you go back, now the Chiefs loss was bad, okay? That Chiefs loss, in retrospect, was really good, or that team was really good. But that loss, I mean, you went into that game as something like a 12-point favorite. And so,
yeah.
But if you look at the 70s losses to the Steelers, the Dolphins, and Raiders, you ran into dynasties. And you had one yourself, but you weren't as good. Like those losses, the Vikings basically got their asses kicked. And so like there's different explanations, in my opinion, for these streaks. But what's unbelievable is one of them didn't overcome those things to win at least one.
Yeah. I mean, here, I just found NBA, NHL, MLB. Is there any question that the Vikings are the best NFL franchise? I mean,
no. I don't even think this is even close to a debate.
To never have won it yet. I don't think, we just went through all those other teams. So you'd have to go pretty far down the list to find a team that goes to the playoffs near as often. So tell me if the Vikings franchise is better than these other teams that have not won a championship. I'm not going to list everyone because there's some no-brainers. Like clearly they're better than the Orlando Magic franchise, but the Magic had a couple nice years.
Yeah, sure.
Nice. Utah Jazz, Denver Nuggets, Phoenix Suns have had some nice. They go to the playoffs a lot.
Yep.
NHL. Vancouver Canucks.
Actually, you know what, Phil? To go back to basketball, the Utah Jazz is an interesting one as far as a competitor.
They're pretty much the Utah Jazz.
Because if you remember, those 90s teams were outstanding.
Mm-hmm.
And they hit the Bulls.
Yeah.
But I mean, Stockton, Malone, in the Vikings case, Tarkington and Page, right? So like the Utah, that's a good one.
Did I say Nuggets? Because this is an outdated list. Obviously, they just won one 2 years ago.
Yeah. Yes, you did. But yes,
I think Utah Jazz is probably pretty comparable. Major League Baseball, Padres, Rays.
Have the Sixers won an NBA title?
Yes,
they have.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It's been a while, but
Yeah,
yeah.
it's been a long time.
Been a long time.
It's been a long time.
Early 80s. They win one in the early 80s.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the
Yes.
Guardians,
obviously.
Indians, they won one in the 40s, right?
48.
48.
48.
Yeah.
Yeah.
45.
Yeah.
No, I think 48. I think you're right.
They definitely won one in the 40s.
Yes.
It's been a minute, though.
Yes.
So, I mean, I guess congratulations to us. Hang the banner. The Vikings are the best team in professional sports to not have a championship.
But it's a good question. Like, how did you, in all of those circumstances, with all of that success, how did you not overcome the odds just once?
I know.
It's weird. It's unlucky to have not stumbled into just, oops, it's a weak year, or we got lucky in this game. I mean, the Minneapolis Miracle was the luck. That was the stroke of luck
Yes.
to get you to the next step, and then you got
Absolutely.
smoked. Plus a home Super Bowl on the horizon too.
Yes. Yes. And I mean, I think that's why, to go back to it, 98 rips your gut out, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you're not just a 15-1 team, but you were literally spending the first half of that game against an okay at best Falcons team celebrating. Like, that was going to be, everything was there. And Anderson's kick, again, would have put you up by 10.
I'm going to do a pie chart of blame for this exact graphic,
Okay.
basically. That how and why is it possible that the Vikings are the third most likely team to make the playoffs in NFL history, but cannot stumble their way into a championship? And like, who and what are the forces to blame going back to 1961?
100%
I'll work on that.
God.
The football gods are just striking down. You know, the home improvement gods would point you to Finch Home Solutions.
They would indeed. And
They
you're
just
about
drop one of those vans right in your driveway.
And you're about to see, yes, the fleet of vans. Cody Finch and his team, they look at that. They're taking off right now. This is a live shot. And you know what? They are on the way to your home. Well, if you called them, to help you out with projects big or small. I told this story a while back, but you know what? Sports Dad, he had a couple of projects. He had a light that didn't work in the basement, and he had a 2-prong outlet that he was trying to get a 3-prong for. He called his buddy Cody. Finch Home Solutions showed up. They knocked on my door. And you know what I said? Hey, come in. Because that's right. Even Sports Dad allows Finch in. Fast, courteous, professional, absolutely outstanding in what they do. Again, it's projects big or small. So if you have a project, you don't have to think about it. Just call Finch, 612-357-2604, or visit them at finchhomesolutions.com and book that appointment today. finchhomesolutions.com. If Sports Dad, who is a sports fan, lets them in his house, guess what? You should too, finchhomesolutions.com.
You know, if Dennis Kirk showed up to my house,
And they knocked.
yeah, I think Declan has it there. He wouldn't knock. He would just rev the engine of a motorcycle, an ATV.
Good point.
I would probably open the door. DennisKirk.com. With over 185,000 parts, apparel, and accessories, they offer same-day shipping and free shipping on orders over $89. And the first annual Minnesota Garage Build Bike Show, powered by Dennis Kirk, is coming up on July 13th, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. at Running Aces in Forest Lake. More details at DennisKirk.com. That's DennisKirk.com. So just for the rest of the week, a couple programming notes for you guys. Tomorrow, write that down, predictions. I'll be via satellite with some predictions. And then we've got some more rankings lined up for the 4th of July weekend. A Purple Over Beers episode from Red Cow in Uptown. We've got Event Line this weekend, a Purple Access. So you guys are going to be covered for your holiday weekend grilling or whatever it is that you're doing. Maybe you're trying to help America get to that 70 hot dogs per year average that AJ found. That
right.
stat.
I'm in a suite on Thursday for a bachelor party at the Twins game, and I do believe some of the members attending are going to try the 999 challenge.
It's aggressive. So that's 9 beers and 9 hot dogs in 9 innings, right?
That is correct.
Oh,
What would be the hardest part? I'm kind of a lightweight, man. Like 9 beers, stadium beers would be aggressive.
that's
I
a lot
think-
in the old stomach right there.
You know, if
Pitch clock too, man. You don't have
Yeah,
4
pitch
hours
clock.
to smooth it out.
I'm out.
yeah, I think by the 4th I'd be in trouble. And also I am a big proponent if I'm day drinking, if I'm going to be doing a lot of drinking, one of the two things has to happen. I need either a nap or I will puke and rally. Like one of those two things will have to happen.
Enjoy that last part for now, because you're getting very close to an age where you won't do that.
Oh, I've been doing it for,
You'll puke.
For 10 years.
You'll puke, but you won't.
You won't rally.
Yes. I'd say about 35 or so. It's like, I'm sick. I got to go to bed.
Yeah. I'm much like, I'd rather day drink and just go to bed,
like
Agreed.
than like rally and try and go back out at 8 or 9 o'clock.
I'm telling you, I got past that at 30 something. I couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah, just
have
a good time and then go to bed.
Yeah, and then you wake up at like 10 o'clock. You're like, hey, I feel pretty good again.
Have some dinner at 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
Put on some. Put on a movie or
exactly.
something. Then
Phil's
pass
got
back
this
up.
down.
That's great.
Yeah, come on, Dex.
So good luck to Declan.
What's going?
Maybe it'll be rain shortened, so you can have like a 5-5-5 challenge or something.
That'd be good. I can do that.
That's still a lot.
That is a lot, though.
That's a lot.
Okay,
Of
well,
hot dogs.
let us know how that goes, and be careful out there, kids. Drink and eat responsibly over your holiday weekend. Write that down. Predictions tomorrow here on Purple Daily. We just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl. We just want the Vikings to go to the playoffs 48% of the time.